Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. This week, we're going to talk about House Bill 3873. This is the law that they're going to try to put into place to allow or disallow marriages for those under 18 years of age, because here in Oklahoma, as long as you have a parent sign off on it, you can get married. Now, House Bill 3873 has been authored by Jason Dunnington. Put his information here. And he's put together a bill that is an act relating to marriage and the eligibility of who it is for. And what he does is he amends it and he adds some language. I'll show it here. And this language, what it does is effectively says that those under 18 are not allowed to get married, even with parental consent. And you can see there's a bunch of, I'll show a couple of screens here where he's struck information from the law and wanted to get that passed. Well, in the first reading, and I'll show you this on the screen, this is the first reading of it. It didn't pass. It didn't make it. A lot of people, and that was just shocking to some people. It even made some of the news. So here we are, Oklahoma, being typical Oklahoma, and allowing those under 18 to be married with only parental permission. And as the law states, as it was even debated in the legislature, there's no provision in the law that says a child has to consent to it. As long as the parents are going to sign off on it, they can force their child to get married. That's how the law works. And that's what they wanted to change. Well, surprisingly enough, this had opposition. And I'm not so sure what the logic behind the argument of not allowing those under 18 to be married. It makes sense. Children, they usually don't have the mental capacity for that type of relationship and partnership, and they're going to force this on kids. And I'll almost guarantee you that this goes in line with these people's stance on abortion. See, they see that, oh, well, if they get pregnant at a young age, if they get married and we can marry them off to whoever got them pregnant, well, that is more likely to result in a birth and not an abortion. And I'm almost positive that that's why these people are against this law. Maybe there's other reasons too. They could be incels, if you know what that is. Involuntary celibates. They seem to like to take their frustration out on women because, well, they can't get a date to save their butts. So that's what you get too in part of this, I think. Some of it goes back to very religious convictions, maybe, because I know in some religions it talks about being able to marry young women if they so want to. So maybe, I don't know, there could be some of that. But I think mostly it goes in with this abortion fight that conservatives want to have, I think, for the most part. There's a few interesting things about this whole drama that's going on and the theater behind this bill. So the first round, the law didn't pass. You had a lot of people that voted against it. I'll show the votes right here, and you can see the nays and the yays and the people who voted nay on it. These names are familiar. They should be. I've been talking about them for the whole season. Several of the people on this list. Now, on the 9th of this month, Dunnington put in an amendment, and I'll show it on the screen. And this added some language to the measure that he wanted to add. You can read it there. Or who is at least 16 or 17 years of age. Refers to a section of law in the Oklahoma statutes. Doesn't really tell us a lot. So he puts this in, and of course it goes back to the floor of the House, and it fails again. So we got this issue here where he gains a few more votes, but still a lot of the same players I'm talking about voted nay against it. So he goes back. Another guy, Caldwell, puts in another amendment here. And you can see by this amendment, he adds a little more language expanding on what Dunnington did. So he's got the Dunnington Amendment, and then he has a few other things, fixing a few other things in some of the sections and lines in the amendment that they want to do. He puts it through, and then, hey, it passes. But not without some more opposition. This is baffling to me. Here we go. You got a Democrat that makes an amendment, and no one goes for it. So basically, it goes over to the Republican. They puts an amendment that basically says the same thing, plus changes a few little words in the law, and next thing you know, oh, hey, it passes. But still not without some opposition, and I want to show you these names here. Here are the names of the people that didn't vote for this, and probably never would, because they believe in child marriage. Same people that I've talked about. Olson, who's been on the forefront of a bunch of other kooky bills that I've mentioned. Hardin, David Hardin. Here's another guy who's just way out there, kooky, and I'm surprised we didn't see Nathan Dahm on here somewhere. Well, he's in the Senate, so we'll have to see about that. This has been engrossed. Now it goes to the Senate, so we'll see how they vote on it. And maybe we'll be surprised, or not surprised, and we'll see Nathan Dahm vote this down. I was surprised that on the third voting that Stegall, who I mentioned last couple of shows ago, he ended up voting for this, but he voted no on it twice, and he seems like that typical for that guy. And so here we got a lot of the same players have been talking about all year, and they voted no on this. So I just gonna think, I don't know what these people in these districts think, but if they really believe that these guys represent them in this way, I'm really concerned for the people in those districts. If they really think that marrying off your kid is really a good thing, or even or a good image for this state. I mean, Stitz talks about wanting to make this a top 10 state, and then we get stuff like this where we try to do something that seems like, hey man, we're going to modernize a little. Yeah, it's not healthy for kids to be married at a young age. It's not going to work out that great. I mean, there's the success rates, if you look at the statistics, are pretty low. I'm not saying that all don't. Of course they don't. Some will make it, and you can point out a few cases here and there, but statistically, on a sociological level, it's not good. It's not good for anybody. And but hey, if it prevents an abortion, these guys are all for it, because that's what they really care about, that babies being born to add to the war machine in some way or some form. And that's really what these guys care about. So the third round, it finally passes, and with a pretty good solid enough votes that we can move it forward to the Senate. Yeah, maybe we'll see what happens there. I'll do a follow-up show on this once it hits there, see if it passes or makes it or what they do with it. And if it gets signed, it'd be kind of interesting to see how this plays out. It's kind of a black eye for us when guys like Olson, David Hardin, people like that, and West just, make us look like kooks, because that's what they are. And I don't get why they think it's okay to basically marry your 16-year-old daughter off when they're not really mentally capable of doing that, and why the law is written is okay for them not to even have a choice in it. They don't get a say as far as the law is concerned. Parents can just marry them right off, and these guys are for that. It's baffling to me. I don't think it's a good look for us at all. We should modernize that. If you're under 18, you shouldn't be legally allowed to get married, in my opinion. I don't think that they are mature enough to handle it, and the statistics show that it doesn't work out great. And that's what we have here in Oklahoma, and this is this thing that we're fighting with these kooky conservatives and their kooky ideals. It's just so far-fetched from reality or even practical or logical that you just gotta almost laugh at it if it wasn't so sad. I hope you've enjoyed this week's show on House Bill 3873 and some of the theater and a little bit of the drama that's gone in behind it. There's a whole bunch of bills that have come up in the 2020 session, obviously, and this is just another one of those that you would think is a no-brainer, but we have to actually do a show on it to point out that there are people out there in our state who are just, I think, dragging us down. Well, till next week, people, this is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild.